Well, us British lot are a superstitious bunch, aren't we? We've got more strange superstitions than you can shake a lucky rabbit's foot at. From bottles buried in walls to eggs that predict scandal, here are 13 British superstitions that refuse to go away. Forget walking under ladders or breaking mirrors, everyone's heard of those. Today we're diving into the truly bizarre side of British folklore. I'll be honest, the only one I've heard of was the rowan tree, but being Scottish folklore, that one's right up my street. We're all over the place today: Yorkshire, Scotland, Somerset and more. So, what exactly is a superstition? It's the belief that one thing happening can cause another thing to happen, even when there's no scientific basis for it. Here's a few stats from a recent YouGov survey. Women are nearly twice as likely as men to call themselves superstitious, and younger people are the most likely to confess to believing in luck or omens. I've got 13 lesser known British superstitions lined up. Yes, 13. Right, let's get started. Number 1. Witch bottles. These were found sealed inside walls, under hearths, or buried by doorways, usually in the 16th to 18th century. They were used to protect the house and its occupants from witchcraft. Witch bottles were typically filled with bent pins, hair, nail clippings, and sometimes urine. They were believed to trap or torture a witch's spirit if she cast a spell. Hundreds have been discovered in East Anglia, Essex and Yorkshire, counties often associated with witchcraft. Some still turn up today during renovations, often mistaking for junk bottles at first. Number 2. Crossed knives on the table. If two knives cross on a table, it predicts an argument or falling out. The crossing symbolised conflict, like swords clashing, like the symbol for a battle on an ordnance survey map. Knives should always be parallel and pointing the same way. Number 3. A white tablecloth left overnight. Leaving a white tablecloth on the table after a meal was believed to invite death into the home. The table was compared to a deathbed, and the tablecloth symbolised a burial shroud. This was popular in Victorian and Edwardian folklore, especially in northern England. Families would always clear the table before dark, even if they were tired. It's often said there would be a death within the year if a white tablecloth was left overnight. Number 4. Working on Ascension Day. Ascension Day, which is 40 days after Easter, is seen as a holy day or a day of rest. In the West Country and Wales, working on this day was said to bring misfortune or even death. Farmers avoided ploughing, shepherds wouldn't shear their sheep, and housewives skipped the laundry. Mending clothes was also avoided. Apparently clothing that had been touched by a needle on Ascension Day was thought to attract lightning. Dearie me. There's lots of superstitions around Ascension Day linked to the weather. A sunny day on Ascension Day meant a hot summer, but rain foretold a bad year for crops and livestock. Number 5. A broken or unwound clock suddenly striking. A broken or stopped clock chiming again would foretell death of someone close, like a family member. It was widely believed that a clock's mechanism is linked to a person's life. For the Victorians, keeping any broken clock in the house was believed to bring bad luck. There is a 1920 newspaper article telling the story of a man dropping dead soon after a stopped clock in the pub suddenly struck the hour. Number 6. Bread and quicksilver. This is an old folk tale used to locate a drowned body. A loaf of bread with a drop of mercury, also known as quicksilver, was placed on a canal or a river's surface. It was then supposed to drift toward the place where the corpse was submerged. This has been recorded in 18th and 19th century reports from Yorkshire and Lincolnshire. Mercury being alive in appearance made people think it sensed other life forces. Number 7. St. Mark's Eve. St Mark's Eve is the night of the 24th of April, and people held vigils outside their local church between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. It was the belief that spirits of all who die in the parish within that year would appear and enter the church. This was observed mainly in northern England and the Midlands. Some said you had to keep vigil 3 years in a row before you'd see anything. Those who saw their own ghost supposedly died within that year. This belief gradually died out in the 1800s. Unsurprisingly, not many volunteers wanted to risk seeing their own ghost. Number 8. Bread in Yorkshire. This is a Yorkshire superstition about bread that wouldn't rise if a corpse was nearby, and bakers might stop work if there'd been a local death. Cutting both ends off a loaf was said to let the devil fly over the house. Bread was spiritually symbolic, and breaking bread has long been a sign of peace. Flat loaves or failed rises were seen as omens of unrest or illness. This is still referenced in some Yorkshire folklore collections today. Number 9. Double-yolked egg. In Somerset, finding one meant a wedding was coming, but not for a romantic reason. It was thought to foretell a hurried marriage due to the girl being up the duff. Farmers' wives would sometimes destroy double-yolkers to avoid gossip. But elsewhere in Britain, it was sometimes seen as a sign of twins or good luck. The egg, of course, is a symbol of fertility, hence the link to love and childbirth. Number 10. A rowan tree by the house. The rowan tree was sacred in Scottish and Irish folklore. Red berries were seen as protective, and rowan trees were planted near homes, barns and gates to keep witches away. Crosses made of rowan twigs and tied with red thread were hung above doors or in byres. Cutting down a rowan tree was unthinkable. It would bring terrible luck. Some rural homes still keep one standing today, just in case. Number 11. Sneezing before breakfast. If you sneezed before your first meal, you'd have bad luck all day. Sneeze before breakfast, you'll cry before night, was an old saying. It was believed that sneezing expelled part of the soul, leaving you vulnerable. So the remedy was to eat something immediately, usually a crust of bread. This superstition was common in England and Scotland throughout the 1800s. It was probably tied to health fears too, as sneezing meant illness coming. Number 12. Getting married in May. Marry in May and you'll rue the day was a long-standing proverb. May was associated with death and misfortune since Roman times, as that was when the Lemuria festival was held, and Christian folklore tied it to unholy timing, too close to Easter. This piece of folklore was sometimes linked to Mary Queen of Scots' ill-fated wedding in 1565. It was during the month of May that Mary Queen of Scots made her ill-omened vows to the Earl of Bothwell. With May being ruled out, many couples waited until June, the lucky month for weddings. This superstition lingered well into the 20th century in some rural parishes. Number 13. Stirring food with her shins. Stirring a bowl was considered unlucky or even a witch's act. With her shins means counterclockwise, against the sun's path. Highland mothers would never stir porridge the wrong way. Another example of superstition blending with everyday chores. Right then, from witch bottles in the walls to stirring your porridge the wrong way, those are 13 British superstitions that refuse to go away. If you've got a family tale, a rowan tree by the door, a double yolk drama, or a nan who never left the tablecloth on overnight, drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear your local superstitions. If you enjoyed this little wander through folklore, give it a like, and if you're new here, subscribe for more very British stuff. Thanks for watching, and remember, don't cross your knives, mind the tablecloth, and for safety's sake, stir clockwise. See you in the next one. Liking and commenting on this video, subscribing to the channel, and watching another of my videos will bring you tremendous luck for the rest of the year.